One of the biggest reasons people will go into massive amounts of debt for a car is that they want something reliable. So they end up getting over $700 a month in a new car payment instead of getting a used car that will have them broken down on the side of the road or in and out of the mechanic shop every single week. But used cars are reliable as well. So this is how you can get an affordable yet reliable used car from a private seller. Let's go. I was in the parking lot of a furniture store waiting for my wife to come back from shopping. And I was just in the car listening to music, and all of a sudden I see this wonderful smoke coming from the hood of my car. Now mind you, we just spent $2,000 on this thing. We took it back to the shop, and it was going to be another $2,000 because of this stupid continuous variable transmission. So you know I wasn't happy. So I can completely understand when people don't want to get a used car because they don't have to deal with this nonsense. But most likely your bad experience and my bad experience is because we really didn't know how to find a good, reliable used car. So I'm gonna help you out a bit and show you how. The first thing you want to do is to figure out your budget. How much money can you get your hands on so you can buy your car cash? If you don't have any money, you need to set a target and put aside money every month into a car fund. Then when you reach your savings goal, then you can start looking for a vehicle. Once you know what your budget is, then you can figure out what you need in a vehicle. Do you have a family? Do you need a third row? Maybe you also need decent trunk space in the back of that third row for a stroller. That will narrow down your selections drastically. Do you have a long commute to work and do you have a lot of road trips? Then maybe fuel efficiency is the need. Do you have a construction or handyman side hustle and are constantly hauling equipment and materials? Then maybe you need a truck. You don't need a big old truck just to haul around groceries. Maybe you'll get one if you find it, but the point is to leave yourself options. You don't want to eliminate perfectly reasonable vehicles that can save you a lot of money. Just determine what your needs or your must-haves are. And if you want a good price, be open to different makes, models, and years. Oftentimes, Hondas and Toyotas are what everyone looking for a reliable car often goes after, so they can be expensive. So you might want to keep your options open if you want a good deal. After you know what you need, then you can start looking for a car. And there are 4 sites I've had luck finding used cars from a private seller. And that's Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, and Cars.com. There are others, but those are the ones that I've used. Now, in recent years, I've found that a lot of dealers pretend to be private sellers and post their cars on these sites. So you might have to wade through a lot of garbage to find a real private seller. However, much of the time when you look at the photos, if the car is parked in a driveway or in the curb in front of a house, that's a sign that it's a private seller. It's not always true, but it's a good indicator. As you're looking through all the different options, if you're looking to find something inexpensive and reliable, then you don't want to worry so much about the features unless it's just something that's a deal breaker for you. Worry about the price, the title status, body type, mileage, and vehicle history. And as you can see here, there are plenty of affordable vehicles. So don't listen to people who say that you can't find a used car under $20,000 and that it's more expensive than a new car. That just isn't the case. There are plenty of options out there. Once you find something you like that fits your needs and is within your price point, then you need to do some research and see if it's a reliable car or not. I always go to 3 sources for vehicle ratings: Consumer Reports, US News and World Reports, which uses J.D. Power reliability ratings, and RepairPal. Now, I've found a lot of people out there who say all these rating systems are garbage and they're just getting paid by the manufacturers and lining their own pockets by giving false ratings. And that may be a possibility, but I haven't found that to be true. And one way to get around that possibility is getting multiple opinions. Oftentimes, these ratings aren't in agreement for particular cars. So if all 3 of them agree that a car is reliable, then it might be a safe bet to make. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about these rating agencies. Do you believe them or do you not? Now, a common misconception with reliability is that most people only consider the make of the car. And a lot of people think that if it's a Honda or Toyota, it's automatically reliable. And generally speaking, these are reliable cars. However, every model, trim, and year is different. You can have one model that is good and one model that has a lot of issues. You can have a car that was great in one year and not so great the next year, especially if there was a big change to the design. Let's take a 2019 Honda Pilot, for example. These have below average reliability ratings according to J.D. Power, even though Hondas in general tend to be reliable cars. The 2017 Honda Pilot, however, got an above average rating. Same make, same model, just different year. So you have to research the reliability for that specific year, specific make, and model to get good information. I also suggest that once you've confirmed that a car is reliable by at least 2, but preferably 3 of the rating agencies, make a note of the car so that you don't have to keep on looking it up again. It can be very time consuming doing all this research, so you don't want to have to do things twice. As you research cars, you'll come to a narrowed down list of cars to look for. After reliability, then you can move on to researching car values. There are 3 used car sources I use: KBB, NADA, and Edmunds Car Values. Again, you can see that getting 3 opinions is always beneficial. If the values are all close, then you're good to go. But if not, you may want to take the average to get a good idea. But even if they're different, at least it gives you a range of what a fair price might be. All of the sites are going to ask you to type in specific information on the vehicle, like the make, the model, the style, mileage, condition of the car, color, and the history of the car. Now, going back to the car that you found and you're looking to buy, if the price of the vehicle is under your budget, including tax, and is within a few $1,000s of the research value of the car, then you can make an appointment to test drive. And in order not to waste time, make sure you ask what kind of title the car has, if it's clean, rebuilt, or salvage, and what accidents the car has been in before you test drive it. If the title is clean and the car has no accidents, then you're good to set an appointment to test out the car. If the car has a salvage title, however, the vast majority of people should stay away. A salvage title means the car has been totaled and you're no longer legally able to drive it. A car has been considered total if it costs more to fix than the vehicle is worth. Sometimes a car can be considered a total loss if the repair cost plus the salvage value is as low as 60% of the value of the car if it were never totaled. But each state has slightly different rules on this. Now, a salvage title isn't always a terrible thing. Many times, especially for older vehicles, it doesn't take a lot of damage to total a vehicle since the value of those cars are very low. But in any case, save the headache and stay away from these cars. Maybe if you're a mechanic or work for a body shop and really know a lot about fixing up cars, or maybe you're looking for a project to work on in your garage, then okay. But for most people, these aren't cars you want to deal with. Now, if the car has been fixed up and passed a basic safety inspection, it may have been given a rebuilt title. Now, you'll see a lot of rebuilt titles on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, mostly because people don't want to buy these rebuilt cars because they've had significant damage in the past, which means there's a higher chance there will be safety or reliability issues in the future. These cars can also be hard to insure. Some insurance companies won't even cover you at all, and those that do will usually only give you liability coverage and not collision or comprehensive. And the liability coverage is usually a lot more. But these are attractive to a lot of people because they do come at a significant discount, as much as 50%. So it can be a good option for people who need a car quickly and haven't had the time to save a lot of money. It's better than going into debt up to your eyeballs for a car. But you do want to consider that the upfront savings can be negated by some of the repair and insurance costs down the road. These cars can be a good option for some, but because it's more of a gamble, I personally stay away from them. The test drive. When you meet up in person to look at the car, make sure you check out everything. On the outside of the car, check for any damage, any misalignment between the panels because this can signify damage that's been fixed. Check the tire tread to make sure you don't need to replace your tires. Check for scratches and dents. Take a look under the car as well to make sure there's no undercarriage damage. Check to make sure all the lights are working, the headlights, brake lights, blinkers. On the inside, again, check everything. You want to test your windows out? Make sure those work. You want to test your sunroof as well.
This feels so good.
Make sure that works. You want to make sure you test out your sound system.
Get it. Hey, stop me, stop me, please, somebody stop me.
You want to make sure you check the AC because this can be a big expense to fix. Also check the heat as well. Make sure you test out all the power seats. Those gotta work as well.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So nice.
And if you have a minivan, you definitely want to make sure that the TV works as well, because that's important. Trust me. Isn't that right, guys?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So make sure that works. Check for any damage in the leather, any soft spots in the floor, because that could signify a leak in the car. Make sure no check engine light or other warning lights are on. If you know a little bit about cars, check under the hood to see if you can spot any oil leaks or any other issues. Then you want to test drive the car to make sure it has a smooth ride. Check the acceleration, make sure the gears are shifting smoothly and the transmission isn't slipping. Now you want to test drive in a neighborhood, somewhere slow, but you also want to test on the highway. Some issues can be seen at low speeds, but some issues can only be seen at high speeds. So you need to test both. Make sure there's no high speed vibration or shaking in the steering wheel, because this could mean that tires need balancing. If you let go of the steering wheel and the car starts drifting to one side or the other, then that might mean you need an alignment. If you press hard on the brakes and hear a grinding sound or it pulls to one side or the other, you could need brakes. Most of these things can easily be fixed, but it's costly, so you need to consider that when making your offer. And some of them, like a transmission slipping, can be a massive expense, so you don't want to miss it. But none of these things require you to be a gearhead or know a lot about cars. These are all things you need to check so you won't have regrets after buying the car or wasting money on unnecessary inspections before you buy. If you find something that's a deal breaker, then you can walk away before you spend any significant money. But the idea is to test as much as possible so that you're not surprised later. Now, one tip that I find helpful when looking at cars is to make sure you touch and point out every problem that you find. Not in a mean way, because people are emotional about their cars, but make sure they know that you see the issues. It's also a good idea to take someone with you, not only for safety issues, but so you can point out the issues to them instead of the owner. Just make sure the owner sees you do it. Once you agree on the price, agree to purchase the vehicle pending a clean Carfax and a pre-purchase inspection. Even if you've checked absolutely everything out on the vehicle, still get it inspected by a professional. They know more than you and will be able to catch anything that you've missed. This is always a good idea to do. Now, the Carfax will just make sure there's no red flags or anything that you weren't made aware of by the owner. The Carfax report contains a lot of info that can affect your decision. Accidents and damage, along with the severity of that damage, the number of owners, the title information, service records, emission and inspection results, and odometer readings. Now, not everything is reported and shown on the Carfax. You never really know if someone did some janky repairs in their garage or some rip-off body shop down the street. But much of the time, it has the critical information you need to make a decision. Now, you'll have to come out of pocket for the Carfax and the inspection, but it's worth it. A car is too big of a purchase to not do your due diligence. If something negative comes back from the inspection, you can reassess the car value on KBB or Edmunds and decide if it's worth it to renegotiate the price. But at least you're informed enough to make a good decision. Once everything's checked out on the car, then it's time to sign the paperwork. If purchasing from a private seller, then you're gonna have to gather the necessary documentation, like the vehicle title, any lien releases if the liens are shown on the title application, odometer, and damage disclosure statements. Each state may have some different paperwork, but these are typical. You can check with your local DMV for the documents you need to transfer title, and then you can just enjoy your new car or new to you car. Buying a used car from a private seller is usually the best option for most people, especially those who have a tight budget. Now, one thing you don't want to do is to lease a vehicle. It's a bad idea. You can check out this video if you want to know why.